Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. It's DJ here. Welcome. Thank you all so much for joining. I see lots of people in the channel already. Let me know if everything's okay with the mic and the video and the screen and everything. I've had to adjust a few things because, of course, the resolution on my screens is all changed. I've just noticed, for example, that the stream chat, maybe I need to move that up a little bit. There we go. Perfect. And the mic is okay as well. Great. Good morning, and thank you very much for the announcement, Nappy. That's awesome. Good teamwork there. I keep moving across to my right because that's where the camera was when I had two screens. I'll explain that shortly, what I mean by that. Good morning, Mark, Thulium 3, and good morning, Pierre. Pierre popped in just before where he's working today. Twitch is, it's not possible to connect to Twitch, so sorry about that, Pierre. But have a great day. Good morning, Leo. Good morning, Mahesh. Good morning, Hussein, and good morning, Srikanth. What a lovely surprise to see you all. It's nice to be back. As you may know, there's been some stuff going on in real life here. Getting over that a little bit, but it's really nice to be back with you folks. What do I mean by keep looking to the right? I did have two monitors, two Dell 24-inch monitors, regular monitors. They were fine. One landscape and then one portrait up here. Up there, whatever. Anyway, and that's where I had my camera, and I kept looking up to the camera there because I thought that was quite useful to do to sort of move away. But I've already got one monitor now, as folks may have seen on the tweet. I'll maybe bring that up to show you what I'm looking at. Good morning, Ronnie. What I'm looking at here. We're back today. It's a rainy Friday. What day is it? Yeah, Friday. Rainy Friday. Although I didn't get on my run this morning, it was still quite dry. It just started raining when I got back, which is the second time that's happened this week. Anyway, we've got lots of things to cover, and if we don't cover them all, that's fine. We can go into the next episode, all relating to CAP and sort of continuing from where we left off last time. Which was 2 weeks ago because, again, something happened end of last week. So there we go. Let me switch already then to the main scene in OBS. And I just noticed as I was going to TweetDeck and saw that Nappy had very kindly tweeted that we were live. Emphasis on we. It's not me live, it's us that's all live. Hey, good evening. Good evening, mate. I guess with the good evening and also the mate, that's somebody down under. Whoever you are, not Q, who's not Q? Let me know who you are if you want to. But you're very, very welcome. Talking of down under, here's I'm drinking from my SAP Coffee Corner radio podcast mug. Hey, Nathan. Oh, Nathan Euler. That's fantastic. Brilliant. What a lovely surprise. Thank you for joining. Got my Coffee Corner mug, and I saw, again, talking of down under, Neil Gardiner has been into, or just getting into mechanical keyboards. I think it's a bit of a, once you get hooked, there's no escape. I'm using my, what is this one? There we go. That's my mechanical keyboard here. This is my An Pro 2 with some fairly cheap but very nice keycaps that I bought from Amazon. They only cost about 20 quid. Really nice though. Very subdued colours. I really like the large letters on the main QWERTY keys. It reminds me a little bit of my BBC Micro. So there we go. You thought you'd stop by while your Helm deploy is failing. Well, that's a good reason to stop by. Anyway, I noticed that Neil has. I think he was talking about getting his first mechanical keyboard only a few weeks ago, and now he's got two. That's how it goes. So be careful if you're going to get into mechanical keyboards. It is an addiction, almost. Anyway, so that's that. Let me close that. What I was going to show you, actually, just to show you what I can see here. I'll just move that to the top here. If I go to my media, yes, where are we? G there, and there it is. That's what I'm looking at right now, in fact. And it's a 4K monitor, really nice actually. LG, it's an LG 27 UK 650. The 850 has got USB-C port in the back, but otherwise it's the same. And with the 4K, this resolution, or this sort of size here, which is what I'm showing, what I'm broadcasting to you right now, is the same size and resolution as my previous landscape monitor, which is great. So I can go OBS down here, I've got all the other stuff up here, and this is what you're seeing in the top left corner. So yeah, it's working out pretty well actually. Anyway, so that's that. Any other news? I don't think so. What I want to do is to sort of avoid rambling on too much at the start and get on with things. So Nathan, I never seem to be able to get my Yeti mic to be any better than using a headset. Interesting. Yeah, I think the Yeti mic is okay for me. I mean, I'm guessing nobody has said that it's not a great sound. I have used a headset before. I'm a little wary of using Bluetooth because it keeps dropping. Well, it sometimes drops out, even with macOS. I don't know why. Oh, I sound lovely. Thank you, Neil. Thank you, Nathan. This makes my voice very, very sweet and soft and mellifluous. Word of the day. I don't know where that came from. So yeah, it's working quite well, I think. I've got this cheap stand, which is okay. Hey, Sky VK0506 is now following. Thank you very much, Sky VK0506 for following. That's awesome. And I've got some other followers as well. Yeah, I'm approaching 300 followers, which is, for me, I'm very pleased with that. Thank you very much. Yeah, Leo, that's hey, good morning, Tiago. Good morning. Oh, no, thank you, Nathan. What a superstar. Thank you for subscribing with Twitch Prime as well. That's awesome. That's awesome. In fact, I just saw something as well. Yeah, Napit, good thing there's no wires. I mean, I don't like wires. I've got it all nicely cabled and cable tied at the back. Nice and clean. I've only just recently gone wireless Bluetooth with this keyboard here. So, and it's working out better than any audio Bluetooth audio device has been. And I've got this sort of wireless mouse as well, although this is not Bluetooth, this is whatever it is, I don't know. Yeah, there is no wires. If you look at my setup, says Nabheat, you will not stop laughing. Well, Nabheat, show us your setup. I'm sure we won't laugh. Maybe we'll laugh a little bit. I've no idea. But yeah, I love seeing other people's setups. It's sort of very inspiring. So good morning, Tiago, and yeah, Leo. I've noticed this as well. Going back to one screen, you know, huge circular ideas in computing, lots of different things, even with hardware. So yeah, I'm very pleased with this setup. You know, move my head less from left to right, and you know, there's fewer options for where to put windows, which actually helps. And I've also been using in my spare time. I use my Chromebook, but I use a Linux distribution on there, and I've been using the i3 window manager, which is a tiling window manager, which is beautiful. Anyway, more on that another time, maybe on a Wednesday session. Ronnie, what did you just post here? Just notice this from Mike Doyle. For those who use the SAP Cloud SDK, okay. Let's just click on that and bring that up there. I think there we go. It's up. Okay, yes. So, thanks for posting that, Ronnie. I think that's a really nice announcement. These are the sorts of things we want to hear about on the live stream. So yeah, if you're using 2.19 of the Cloud SDK, you need to upgrade to 2.19.1 put level. Put level? God, that's from R2, isn't it? R2 days put level because of a vulnerability that's been now fixed. So to Nathan has a perfect a question that perfectly allows me to segue into where we left off last time. So what is cat auth? I'm out of the loop outside my area. That's cool. we're all learning here anyway. Yeah, using one screen also helps focus. It does. And yeah, I really like it. I'm still getting used to it, but I really like this. CAP auth, CAP being the Cloud Application Programming Model, CAP-M or CAP. And for a while we've been wanting to look at authorization, or more generally, or more sort of primarily authentication and or authorization. Authentication as in, authenticate yourself, and then, authorization, what access do you have to what resources. And in the previous episode, which was 2 weeks ago, and that the video for that is still up there on Twitch. It will move to YouTube shortly when I've done the annotations for that. That's this right now, isn't it, I guess? So this is the video here, which talks about the annotations, about the authorizations, but we'll have a catch up to remember where we are, and hopefully, Nathan, that will give you a bit of a heads up on what we mean when we're talking about CAP auth. Let me know though. Hey, HP, good morning. How are you doing? Greetings from Mannheim. Greetings to Mannheim. Wow, what a wonderful surprise. This is great. Okay, so there's that. In fact, why don't we start? Oh, before I start, I wanted to point out there's a post I wrote last night, and it's sort of relatable, very related to a little bit of what I wanted to show you today. In that when we were playing around with the CAP auth, we noticed that with CAP Node.js version 3.13, when we moved from 3.10 to 3.13, there were some really subtle, unfanfared, unannounced little extra links in Fiori. And when we clicked on those, we got some sort of Fiori Elements pages served automatically by the CAP engine, by the CAP runtime, Node.js runtime. So I started to look into that, and that's also what I want to take you through a little bit of today as well. So we'll sort of segue through where we left off last week with the authorizations, just remind ourselves of where we got to, and then start to look at what the heck these ... in Fiori links mean, and how to make them work, and how to embrace them, and also how they're built inside the CAP engine. And I started looking around, and I mentioned this before, and for those of you, was anybody here? I know Leo was, for example. Anybody else at the SAP Inside track in Frankfurt earlier this year? I did a talk on ES6 in the wild, ECMAScript 6. And JavaScript is just, I think people love it and hate it for the same reasons. It's, really bendable and shapeable to your own brain. It's multi-paradigm, and you can write very, very strange and or beautiful code. So I wrote this post called The Observer's Book of JS Style. I used to have this beautiful pocket book. I used to be really into trucks. My dad was in the haulage business. God rest his soul. And anyway, I went through and just started looking at one file, and there was so much richness in there. I think, Tiago, you've seen this post already, right? There's so much richness in there, and also so much opinionated style. I think Tiago, you probably agree with that, if I remember what you said in your post. The way that this is written is really, really interesting, and I'm learning a lot from it. So I decided to go through this particular file here and have a look, and just sort of point out a few things that really stood out to me. So let me just put the link to that post in the chat here. And there's so much more as well, so I think I'll probably end up writing maybe a second post, a third post, I don't know. So let me know what you think, if this sort of thing is interesting to you. Let me just put this post into context. If I go to, by the way, I'm using another little Mac OS utility called, what's it called? It's right over here. It's called, I don't even know. Activate, and I'm using that to be able to sort of switch with a keyboard shortcut to various apps. I can associate a keyboard shortcut with a particular app rather than tab, 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 which I think you can't really see on my screen here, sort of tabbing through the open applications on macOS. So I can switch straight, for example, to my terminal. So there we go. Now, let's have a quick look at, if I switch to that one there again, you'll see that, where are we? There we go, yes. We'll see that this is to do with the server.js at SAP CDS. What is that and where is that? Just remind ourselves. Let's go back here. I've copied across the bookshop folder where we left off from last time into another folder called Ep.30. So I'm not sort of, I want to start fresh, as it were. And if we have a quick look at the server.js, there it is, that one there. So it's in the SAP CDS node module, or the package. I'm still tempted to look over there to talk to you in the camera, but there you are there. So it's in the SAP CDS package, and it's at the root level, and effectively it is the main program. Sounds such an old-fashioned word, program. The main script, the main program that gets executed when you do a CDS serve or CDS run. And of course, as you may know, being Node.js based, it sort of makes sense to use things that were already there. And of course, what's the most popular HTTP server framework out there? Express. And it uses Express, as you won't be surprised to see. So this is the file where I saw these really interesting things. So here's those 2 lines that I put in the post there, as you can see, and so on. So have a look at that while you're reading through, if you happen to want to read through this post here, and see what you think, and let me know what you think as well. So talking of this, we will come back to this shortly, because we can see, up here, we've got some middleware. Now, if you're interested, it might be worth us playing around with Express middleware and understanding how it works, maybe on a Wednesday live stream, on a sort of an off-piece live stream, so that we can understand how they have implemented this extra sort of, well, I suppose, extra plugin, extra handler plugin for the Fiori stuff, but we'll come back to that shortly. So anyway, that's where that was, and why don't we start out by we'll start out by CDS deploying. Okay, so we've got our classic bookshop. Nathan, this is, I guess, for you. Oh, single quotes, Fabian. Is that yes, Fabian, single quotes. I do like single quotes, and I'm trying to force myself to use single quotes instead of double quotes, because they just, I don't know, they look cleaner, purer. I don't know why. There's no logic to it really. So, morning Volker as well, and good morning Fabienne as well. Check out the index.html hacking there. It's absolutely right. And in fact, I don't know whether you've seen Volker, but I've referred to that. Here we go. Here, get and fake file name. I've called it a fake file name. So I've described this index.html hack here. I didn't notice it at first. I didn't notice what was, I thought, something not quite right about that line. What the heck is it? And then after going down, I realized, is that what you're referring to as well, Volker? Let me know. If we get time later on, we'll maybe have a look at that hack together. But it's beautiful, and it uses this getter, which is, again, something I don't really personally see that often in JavaScript code. Anyway, howdy, Robertino. Howdy, Robert. How are you doing? Thank you. Thanks. I'm glad you're with us as well. That's really good. It's, you know what, some may know what, basically, well, it's not a secret. Last Thursday evening, my father passed away. It wasn't unexpected, and it was a blessing, because it was just a horrendous last few weeks, which is the reason I couldn't do the live stream last Friday. But you know what, it's so nice to be with you folks, and be talking about this stuff again. So thank you, and thanks for all your support as well. Let's do this. We've done the deploy, so we've deployed. CSV files, the data has been deployed to the database, and if we do a CDS run, we will see that we had defined, let's actually just bring up another window here and go in here. We can see that we've got the classic data model and catalog service. Let's have a look at the catalog service. Which is that, okay, really standard. The only thing I've done actually is remove the read only for no particular reason. But we also defined an admin service. Yes, I'll just open it in a second window, which is here, which is basically exposing authors, just like that's exposing authors up there. But here we've got this requires admin annotation. And in order to play around with that annotation and just see how it works and everything locally in a mock environment, I've just noticed something from Fabian. I'll come to that in a minute, Fabian. In order to play around with that, we can use Passport. Passport is a standard Node.js module package. Let me know whether you say module or package. I don't know. I use them interchangeably to do that. And in fact, if we have a look, in fact, let me just open that in there, package.json. No, not package.json. We define it in our CDS-RC file, which is basically the sort of the bottom level of layers of configuration that get built up. Okay, this is almost like the fallback, the default. And as you can see here, we've got this auth stanza. In fact, let me just make that a little bit bigger. There we go. We've got the auth stanza. And that tells us we want to use a mock strategy via Passport. And we defined a couple of users last week or last time, Volker and Ronnie, both with passwords and both with IDs. And we gave Ronnie an extra role, which was this admin role there. Okay, so that's that. And what that implies is that when we run it, which we are doing here, in fact, let's go out of here. What we did was, these are from last time, when we run it with no authorization at all, with no authentication at all, so we're just grabbing that URL, we're not sending any user ID and password, we get a 401, unauthorized, yeah? I know that. I've seen some tweets from Simon Kemp earlier this week. He was in a hotel and he got room 404 and then he went down to checkout. And of course he got a 402, payment required, which was very nice. And somebody commented, it's a good job it wasn't a 403. Otherwise he wouldn't have got in. So anyway, you got a 401 unauthorized. So of course what we can do is curl -v, we'll take a bad password first of all, and we'll request this authors entity set in the admin service, and we get a bad password, so we get unauthorized. Okay, we still get unauthorized, right? But now when we provide a correct password, let's use Volker for example. Volker's correct password is dive, but Volker doesn't have access to the admin service because the admin service requires admin, the admin role, and Volker doesn't have that, but Ronnie does. So if we do Ronnie, there we go, is it Oslo, that one there, we get the data. Okay, that was a long way around, but basically we've sort of seen now all the different possibilities we get. We've had a 401 because we haven't supplied any user ID and password. We get a 401 because we have supplied a user ID and password, but that's been incorrect. We get a 403 because we've supplied the correct username and password for Volker, but he's not allowed to see the admin service. And then we get a 200 because we supply the correct user ID and password for Ronnie, and he has the right role, so we get the data back. Okay. So that's where we left it. There was one thing I just wanted to say. I want to move on quickly to the Fiori Elements stuff, and then we'll maybe come back to this. But one thing I did want to point out which is at the moment, there's a caveat emptor, or caveat emptor, I suppose you don't buy it, but anyway, which is once you've defined the mock strategy using Passport for your runtime for your services, all your services will be protected. So even though we've got what do we want, CDS, even though we've got the mock password, the mock strategy here defined, but only in the admin, in the cat service, we haven't got any role requirement. Okay, we still, let's use the catalog service, we still have to authenticate. Okay, so that's a bit of a gotcha, not a gotcha, but just something to be aware of. And whether that should be the case when mocking, whether that should not be the case for a service that has not been annotated with authentication or role requirements, is currently being debated. It's a big design question back in the mothership, and they're working on that right now. But I just wanted to highlight that. Anyway, is that all clear so far? And also, Nathan, does that sort of fill you in a little bit on cap auth and what I mean when we talk about cap auth? And of course, this is just mock authorization from a local perspective. Once you deploy to Cloud Foundry, and I want to wait until this strategy changes or is resolved into what it is going to be resolved into, whether the catalog service will be protected or won't be protected, and then we'll look at the authorizations and how they relate, and the roles we define in CDSRC, how they relate to scopes in user administration in Cloud Foundry. Okay, so we'll do that once we've got that under our belt. I've been drinking, just another thing, I've been drinking coffee from my AeroPress for a long time, but I've recently taken ownership of a Lapavoni espresso maker, hand espresso maker. And the taste is so different, and I'm so used to drinking espresso now in the morning that this just tastes good, but it tastes different, good, different, weird. Anyway, so yeah, a lot of liquid there, whereas I'm just drinking espresso at the moment. Anyway, also what I'm not used to, as I'm looking in the top left-hand corner of this monitor here, so I can't see the time, which is right over there, resolution-wise. So what time is it now? Okay, good. We got half an hour. Okay. So yeah, I think there is this. I'm glad. Yeah. So you've got an espresso maker and never use it, relying on the nice metal French press. Yeah, I used to use a French press, but the AeroPress is. I really like the AeroPress, but I love my Lapavoni, and it's one of those devices that is hard to use in a nice way. And especially when you have the grind and you have to sort of dial it. Now I understand in proper coffee shops where they say, we're just dialing in this new blend of beans or whatever. What do you mean dialing in? But it's getting the right grind for that particular bean and that particular roast. So that, anyway, yeah. Anyway, yes. Okay, yes. Oh, French press too late in the day. Yes. Understand that, Nathan. Understand that. Okay, so why don't we bring up, rather than using curl, we'll bring up the service in the browser and have a look what this in Fiori thing is. So the service, in fact, what I mentioned was on the previous live stream is that it'd be nice to use NodeMon. Now, we've used NodeMon before. If you can remember where NodeMon was used, we certainly used it in solving, I think it was in the very first episode, wasn't it? And maybe since then as well, when we were solving that Advent of Code problem. So let's install NodeMon. npm install as a development dependency NodeMon. I'll just install that. and then we can use nodemon to automatically redeploy and rerun these services if we make any changes. And the changes will be predominantly to CDS files, but also, we'll get it to monitor changes to JavaScript files as well, of course, because we can define custom handlers, as we've seen before. So nodemon is only defined or installed locally on this project. So in fact, let's just have a quick look here. Let's just zoom. Oops. No, I don't want to kill that pane. Sorry. Zoom that in for a second. Nodemon is now installed here. Where is it? There. And also in the bin directory, we can see that there's a nodemon executable, right? But of course, we can't access that. I think I might have nodemon installed globally. Well, maybe I haven't. Okay, no, I haven't. We can't access that. We have to go, for example, node modules .bin nodemon, which we can do. But that's a bit of a pain. And it was Marius, I think I've mentioned this before, it was Marius that told me about this. There's this thing called npx, which is part of the whole node install, which says go and find locally if you can and install it temporarily if you can't, this thing, this binary or this executable. So we can say npx nodemon. It will find it in the .bin directory inside node modules. Let's just make this again, zoom this in. I found zoom by mistake on Tmux. It's just awesome. And we can see that it's quite easy to use. Ronnie, yes, use npx. Sorry, yes, you're ahead of me, as usual. Okay. So you've got to go, Mark. Thanks so much for joining. Enjoy your 9:30 meeting. And what else have we got here? Mark has also said Espresso Chimera. Cheap, simple, but perfect output. Real craft. Oh, let's have a look at that quickly. There we go. Oops. Chimera Espresso Cremoso. Oh my goodness, that looks amazing. I think that crema is a bit fake, but anyway, that looks amazing. Let's get rid of that. So what we'll do is we'll run nodemon, npx nodemon, and we'll get it to look for changes to extensions, CDS and JavaScript, and watch in the service directory, and also we have to do it individually here, use once for each directory, right? In the DB directory. And what we want to do is when we see changes, we'll say CDS deploy and CDS run. Okay, so let's unzoom that. Let's run that there. So there we go. That's quite cool, obviously. Sorry, obviously we haven't changed it. I mean, obviously it's not cool. So now if we bring this up, oops, and bring that into view, this is what we get. Okay, which we notice. So there's our authors in the admin service, and there's our authors and books. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Authors and books in the catalog service. And we found this ... in Fiori. Now it took me a while to find where this was defined, because this ... isn't ... What I did was I did let's go across here to here. So I said grep ... in Fiori. Oh, grep recursively ... in Fiori, because that's what it looks like, it doesn't it? Yes, ... in Fiori with a capital F. In node modules. Oh, let's just do there actually. Oh, we did find it. Oh, of course, it did find it. I was using the extended regex, which, yeah, okay. So there it is there. But basically, the ... isn't really a ... It's a horizontal ellipsis, which is quite interesting. Anyway, that's what got me looking originally at server.js. So if we have a look, we can do this, can't we? There we go. Oh, No, sorry. Woo! Why don't we just go in Ranger? Here we go. Bookshop, Node modules, SAP, CDS, Server.js. There it is. That's this thing that we were looking at before, okay? And the in Fiori is inside what Folker was referring to before, which is this beautiful hack. No, is it hack? Yeah. Anyway, we'll maybe cover that later. There it is. Where is it? There. So this is the thing that's served if there's nothing, if there's no index.html already, or if there's nothing to serve already in the app folder. Remember, I think we covered the app folder. Did we cover the app folder on a previous episode? We have the DB folder for the data model. We've got the server folder for the sort of service level definitions. And then we have the app folder for stuff that we serve from a UI perspective. And it will look in there, and if it can serve something there, it will serve it. If it can't, it will serve this raw sort of here document. How many others call this a here document? I think that maybe comes from the Perl language in the community. It will serve this here document, and that's exactly what we're seeing here. And now if we select the books, for example, we get the books, and I've just played around with this earlier today, so I've already authenticated with, I think, with Ronnie's password and user ID and password. That's fine. We're not really interested in the authentication at the moment. No, I haven't used Perl for a long time, but it's still, close to my heart. So there's the books. If we say in Fiori, we get something that looks like that. That's smaller again. Like that, which is where we briefly had a look at this, didn't we? And it's like, oh, this is really interesting. Where the heck is that coming from? Well, that is coming from this bit of middleware here, the Fiori preview. I mean, there's the link to it is here. Okay. And the links are, of course, all to something like this. And if you look at I'm not sure whether you can see that. Yeah, you can see that URL big enough there. So it's this $Fiori preview. And I guess $, is this convention to say, well, this is sort of like an internal thing. And it won't trample on anything you're likely to want to serve yourself. Yeah, I don't know. I guess that's what it is. And it's basically a piece of middleware service that will serve Fiori Elements stuff. Now, if you look inside the Fiori preview middleware, you'll find that, again, it's almost like, as Ward Cunningham would say, it's the simplest thing that could possibly work. But we'll have a look at that maybe and how that works another time. Why don't we try and make this display a little bit more useful? Because of course at the moment it's empty. But what we did notice last time was that we know there are 7 books, okay? 7 brides, 7 brothers, 7 books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That's it. And there are 7 rows in this list page, right? In this list report page. So clearly there's something going on there that has correctly bound this table, this smart template, this Fiori element table as part of the list report page to the books entity. So why don't we try and play around with some annotations to put stuff in here. Now, I'll share a link to the annotations I'm about to use because they're actually in the Cloud Application Programming Model Code Jam, which I think some of you, of course, have attended. I know Leo, you've attended it. But let's just build it up bit by bit, and hopefully the NodeMon that we've invoked will help us in this as well. So let's go back to here. Let's quit out of there, and the service is still running. So we can sort of leave that to run in the background. We will zoom this in again and start editing. We'll use. I was going to use VS Code because I know that Ronnie and lots of people, including me, are big fans of VS Code. But let's stay in the terminal. Unless you have any objections, Ronnie, if you want us to use VS Code, we'll use VS Code. But let's zoom this in again. Notice that tmux shows us that this particular thing is zoomed with a Z here. So let's now go into, in fact, let's have a look at what this is. Let's look at the books data model. Okay, so we've got our entity books. This is classic. We've seen this all before, so we shouldn't be surprised at this. So we've got the ID of the book, we've got the title, we've got the stock, and we've got this managed association to the author's entity. Okay, so we've got that. So why don't we create in the serve directory? Oh, let's go into the bookshop first. Bookshop serve. In fact, let's have a look. In the serve, at the moment, we've got these two things here, right? So let's call it annotations.cds. Annotations, yeah. Okay. So, yeah, annotations. Do we need to add anything there? I'm not sure. So no, we don't actually, because look what's happened already. Let me just zoom that in again. And up here, we can see that all of a sudden it's restarted because we added a CDS file. Okay, so node mon restarted. And now it's still serving the admin service in the catalog service, but it's also recognized and noticed and picked up the annotations.cds, even though it's got nothing in it, right? So that's quite cool. You can have this index.cds, which if it exists, it will only load index.cds and whatever index.cds points to. So if you want to control that explicitly, you can use an index.cds thing there, but we're not going to do that right now. Let's now go into the annotations. Oh, I keep doing that wrong, sorry. Annotations file. And start adding some annotations and then refresh. So at the moment, even though we've got an annotations file, of course, there's nothing in there. So it still looks like this. So we'll start saying, we'll say annotate catalog service dot books. Okay. And what we'll say is and then we can have a whole load of annotations starting here. Good morning. Now, I'm still not sure what I want to do with indentation in CDS files. I know that VS Code will indent nicely automatically for me with the language server protocol, maybe. I don't know. But anyway, this is my Vim CDS plugin. And we'll say, we'll give it now, I've been looking at the annotation vocabulary in general, and it's so, I mean, to me, annotations are amazing, but they're sort of a little bit magic and not impenetrable, but I find them quite hard to understand. And what do I use? How do I speak annotations? Let me know in the chat whether you are in a similar position. I did find this wiki page, which has still been recently updated. And Ralph Handel, I know that name, Ralph Handel. He is definitely a person to do with annotations in general. Yeah, Leo, trial and error. Yeah, exactly. But I think it's just a question, for me, I think it's just a question of I need to do more of it, and I need to read more of it as well to sort of get a better feel for it. But anyway, the UI annotation vocabulary, or SAP.UI annotation vocabulary, is really interesting. And all this stuff here is stuff that we can use. So we'll use this UI annotation here, and the way you can express it is you can sort of say, well, I want a UI line item, I want a UI selection options or whatever, and you can express it like this, sort of break it out into almost like a map of stuff. So we're going to use line item, the UI.line item annotation, which consists of data fields, these label with a label and so But anyway, we're not going to examine this because it's a bit too dry to examine on the live stream. But this is what drives this stuff. And oh, 8:45, perfect. So that's what's behind this, and we'll play around with this sort of stuff if we have time on this stream. If not, we'll play around with it next time because it's really, really interesting. And it allows us to explore extending data models and extending services with persisted extensions and non-persisted extensions in CDS. But anyway, let's go back here and say, well, first of all, I want to get rid of these selection fields. Okay, we've got a search field here, but by default, we have a number of selection fields, and those selection fields relate exactly to the properties that are in the books entity. So automatically it's generating a selection field for each of the items. For each of the properties. But I don't want any selection fields, so I'll say selection. Now I do wish that there was some command completion for this, but in a way, I've been quite happy without command completion because it forces me to type everything directly and learn more. Thanks, Ronnie. Sorry. Yes, I meant to share that link. Ronnie, what a superstar, as usual. Thank you all for helping me on that to share stuff. So why don't we do that? Let's just see what happens just with that. Now, of course, we can see that there's no errors anymore, so that's good. Let me just go over here. Let me just unzoom that. I'll unzoom it and just make that a little bit bigger instead, so we can see that NodeMon is doing its work when we save this, which it is. Ronnie the Link Mafia, exactly. So now, when we refresh, let's see if anything changed. Yes, okay, so we've now got rid of the selection fields. Okay, so we know that we can make some modifications to some annotations. We can annotate the books entity in the catalog service, and the beautiful thing as well is that we can do the annotations in a separate file. So of course this speaks to I don't like that phrase, speaks to this is all about proper reusability. So I want to be able to reuse an existing service without modifying that service, without going into that file and typing stuff in. So the beautiful thing that's happening without us really thinking about it is that it's saying, well, okay, you can have another file with some annotations in, and that file and the references in that file will be resolved to things in other files, which is really nice, I think. So that's that. So why don't we now add? Yeah, we'll add a line item, a UI.line item, which again is in this thing here. Line item, data field abstract. Okay, and we'll look at that maybe in a bit more detail as to what that is. But basically, what that means is you can have an array of stuff here. What we'll have value. Okay, what's in the data model? Oh, we're in the serve data. Can we do that? Oh, wait. See, one of the challenges when I'm using. Let's just save that for a second. When I'm using Ranger, is that when you go into Vim from wherever you are in Ranger, it can't see behind itself. So I'm just going to quit out of here. This probably I'm using it wrong somehow, but anyway, I'm just going to go in here and open up the annotations thing here, and then I'll open up also the data model there we go. So there's our data model. So I'll say value, of course, title, and we'll also have, well, first of all, we'll have stop. So these are two fairly easy things to sort of understand. And now let's go back and refresh. Oops, not open up a new tab. Let's refresh. Let's get rid of that thing there. We don't want that anymore. And there we go. We've got already data in the table. We've got the title. We've got the stock. Now, it does tell us, in fact, let's open that up again. It does tell us somewhere that in this data field abstract, we can have this string label, a short human readable text suitable for labels and caption in UIs. And it turns out And one of the things again is that it's so abstract. Let's go back here. It's so abstract. It says here, it focuses on usage patterns of data in UIs, not on UI patterns. Now that's all well and good, but it's a bit dry. And just tell me what I need to do to make something happen on the screen. That's what I want. So as Leo, I think you said, there's a bit of trial and error. But anyway, I think once we get used to it, Anyway, so we'll add a label. Why don't I try this? Label. There we go. So now we'll say book title, stock level. Yeah, okay, that's fine. So we've now got, hopefully, book title and stock level. Now we did cover translations of these things, of course. Previously, I know Fabian, you were asking about that a while ago, and I think we covered that, didn't we? The I18N stuff. We can actually bind it to properties or a series of property, locale specific properties files, just like you do that in a UI5 application context. But for now, we'll just use sort of strings. And I guess what happens when we click it? Okay, we've got nothing there. Now, if you dig around, let's go back again. If you dig around, you'll find that there's some other annotations. There's a header info, UI.headerinfo. Is it here? Header info. Oh, there we go. Header info. Information for the header area of an entity representation. Okay. And if we look at the header info type, we've got type name plural. Okay, so if we say, now I'm mixing tabs and spaces. Turn on my list mode. Horrible. Yeah, let's get rid of that for now. Header info, and what we'll have is type name. So again, what we're doing here is, as far as I understand, what we're doing here is type name plural books, right? We're defining the value, for example, books, for the annotation property. Is that the right word? UI.headerinfo.typename plural. So we can see the sort of expansion through these sort of braces here, these maps. UI.headerinfo.typename plural. There we go. We need to close those braces there. And we see that's restarted. If we have a look at that now, we can see here books. So it's using type name plural. Now, does that change anything for this? It doesn't. What we also have a possibility of defining is this sort of title and description. Title for overview pages and description for overview pages. So let's go back. In fact, let's go back and add title. How are we doing for time, by the way? Title. Now what we want, of course, is one of these, what do they call them again? One of these data field abstracts, right? A data field. So let's click on data field, label and value, right? The data field's value. So let's just do that. So thank you, Ronnie. 7 minutes left. Timekeeper as well. And thanks for confirming that, Fabian. Yeah, we did cover internationalization, didn't we? Yes. I've just noticed what you said there. Worked with different clients consuming OData. Annotations are not widely supported, so I stay away. Yeah, I think for the sort of, I was going to say 80%, for 60% of what you want, maybe. Layouts, what they called floor plans. I don't like that. I don't know why they call. I can understand why they call floor plans, but I don't like that. I know it comes from Dimpro, but anyway. For classic floor plans like this list and like the object page, annotations are, and also like the analytical page, annotations work really well. But for other things, not so much. And you've got sort of a balance of stuff here. So 7 minutes left. Oh yeah, I keep rambling now. So 6 minutes left. We can definitely cover a lot more. I've got lots more to explore with you here, but let's just finish this bit off here. We'll say title, and then we can say value, because we're using this sort of data field here. Value, what are we going to put here as value? We will put the title. Yeah, the book's title. Yeah, there we go, title. And why don't we say for the description, description, another data field abstract. We can have, well, tell you what, we can have author dot name, because we've got this relationship between the author property of books, and author points to the author's entity, so author dot name, right? So that should work. We go back here and refresh. Mind you, I could have just click, couldn't I? Wuthering Heights. Let's go to the best book in the world. There we go. So we've got the title, the book title, and the author's name, Douglas Adams. That's just really, really scratching the surface of our learning here. Like I say again, this is really, really useful. And it's so accurate, but I think it just suffers from it being a little bit dry. Who goes and reads vocabulary definitions? Well, I did a bit yesterday, earlier this week. But I found stuff that started to allow me to understand annotations a little bit more, and why the annotations look like this. Okay, and so now when I look at this, it doesn't look like a jumble of stuff with some random punctuation and brackets. I understand why it's written. But anyway, what we'll do next time is Thomas Young shares his VS Code extensions. Awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Ronnie. Yes. We'll continue with these annotations. What I want to do is explore in this data field abstract, you've got this criticality as well, which Jocelyn Dart talked about a while ago. There we go, status and semantic colours. So let me just put a link to that blog post from, is that the right one? Yeah. So if we open up in an image of a new tab, we can see it a little bit better. So you've got this idea of criticality, green, amber, red, and all these, and of course because we need to take care of accessibility, we also have an icon which is different for each criticality level as well. So the criticality is something we'll play around with next time, and you basically say, well, criticality. Well, where are we going to get that criticality from? What is the level, and how do we sort of enumerate the values? I'm thinking that would be a good thing to do next time, because it also allows us to start playing around with extending the book's entity definition. I'm saying that sort of in a generic way, with an extra computed field, a calculated field. If the stock level, which we have in the database, is less than 50 or something, then we want it critical. If the stock level is more than 1,000 or whatever, then we want it all green and good. So let's do that next time, and I think it will be next Friday. If you're up for a midweek stream in the afternoon on Wednesday to explore some more off-piste stuff, let me know. But yeah, it's 8:59. I hope that was useful. Really, really thanks so much for all the chat here. And thanks everybody for contributing, especially Ronnie for all the links and everything. Feel free to chat as much as you can anytime. See, I forgot again. Maybe I'm sort of subconsciously relying on you too much, Ronnie, but thank you. Brilliant. So that's it. Have a great weekend. Thanks for joining, and I'll see you next time. Bye.